on the occasion of Women's International Day, we decided to come up with a series of some of the very, very prolific women leaders, and talk to them about their journey and really what is it to take to be a leader at organizations, understand their journey, and of course take inspiration from it. Well, women of the world want and deserve an equal future free from stigma, stereotypes, and violence. A future that's sustainable, peaceful, with equal rights and opportunities for all. To get us there, the world needs more women at every table where decisions are being made. Well, women's full and effective participation and leadership is of in all of the areas of life drives progress for everyone. Yet women are still underrepresented in public life and decision making. All right, let me invite today's guest. I have with me Srimati ShivaShankar, Corporate Vice President at HCL Technologies. Welcome, ma'am. Lovely to have you on the show, and thank you very much for accepting our invitation to come and talk to us.
Namaskar, hello, and vanakkam. Thank you so much for this opportunity as well, Shweta. It's always nice to interact with bright and young girls like you and share my experiences. So I really thank Zee TV for giving me this opportunity.
My pleasure, ma'am. Let's start with your journey, really, and that's something that we all look up to. Young women, as you said, aspiring women who want to be leaders tomorrow, would they always look up to people like you, senior women leaders, understand what their journey was, because you can relate it pretty much. So why don't you begin by telling us about your journey, ma'am?
I was raised in a very small village in southern part of Tamil Nadu. My initial years of education was in a Tamil vernacular medium. A business family, a large household with uncles, aunts, grandparents, cousins, almost about 35 of us in that house. So I think my early on years was watching my grandma waking up at 4 in the morning, and then going straight into the kitchen. And we used to wake up with the coffee smell, at 4:35 in the morning. So very disciplined, very systematic, principle oriented. But at least one thing about my household was there was no division of labor between men and women. I have found my uncles also coming in and supporting their women in the kitchen and vice versa. So, of course, the men were the earners and women were the caregivers. But somewhere I found that there was no unconscious biases running in the families. So I grew up in a Tamil medium, but after a while, I used to share the same bus as the children who were also studying in the English medium of the same school. The minute I step into the bus, the girls used to switch to English. And that was the first time I thought something was not fair. And it was important to learn English. Maybe it was not right, but at a young age, there was no one who told me that, you can live without this language, but what's most important is education. Somehow that year I had a double promotion. I was always a topper in school, very good in math. But then I went to the English medium and I spoke to the sister. It was a Catholic school. In fact, the principal from the Tamil medium gave my reference to the sister in the English medium and said she doesn't know a word in English, but she's very adamant. The only reason is she gets very perturbed when she steps into the school bus. So the sister took to me very kindly and gently asked me, why do you want to join English medium? I said, very simple. I also want to step into the bus and speak in English. That was the only thing. She said, but you have to forego your promotion, and we'll give a shot for about 2-3 months. If you can pick up and start doing your beyond math, because math to some extent you can relate to the problem and you can do well, but the physics, history, geography, everything was in English. So I think it took about 3 months for me to settle down, but there was no looking back. Then I just figured out what small towns teach you is a sense of purpose and a sense of resilience. Um, there may be gender parity when it comes to who will do what kind of jobs. That's also because the opportunities are limited. But somehow, our grandparents, your grandmoms, your mothers, I think they inculcate a lot of confidence at a young age. We say even eagles need a push. I think they gently push us from the nest and ask us to fly. Some of us are very smart to catch on to those signals early on. Some of us don't understand the signals at all, and we feel we are being pushed as a girl in a small town. So I think a lot of credit goes to my household, especially my grandma and my mother, for
Wonderful. I mean,
creating.
it's beautiful to see, understand, hear from you your first-hand experience on what really made you what you are today. And it really goes back in time, and from the time, as you said, when you were really young, and look where it's led you to. That sense of resilience, the sense of purpose in life. I think that is totally relatable. I can also actually second it to say that I come from a small town too, and I think in that sense, it's very similar to what you're saying, and I understand it, ma'am. All right. So this is, of course, your early years. What about the professional life and the career? Because you cross this part, you do your school well. What next? How do you get to the next level?
In school itself, I moved into a co-education, and I think I learned early on about gender disparity at work and at school, especially when it comes to sports. And in a small town, fortunately or unfortunately, you don't have too many girls with whom you can compete with in sports. So I think whether it was my racetrack or the basketball, I think I played with boys. And my coach taught me something very simple in life, which I still remember today and practice. Um, he said that when you're on a racetrack, your target is to finish the goal. You need to finish. You need to come and finish the 100-meter mark. So you see a tight rope there, and your vision is about finishing the long run and touching the rope. I don't think you should be worried about who's running with you. It could be men, it could be Caucasian, it could be an Afro American, it could be even women, right? Doesn't matter. End of the day, it is about a race, and it's about finishing the mile. It's not about coming first, but it's about finishing the mile. And because in small towns, you run with the boys, you get a little perturbed because a lot of people will laugh at you when you lose the race. Sometimes when you win the race, boys want to exclude you. They say, "How can she beat us?" Right? In between, you're caught. But end of the day, it matters who's going to finish the race, right? Um, so I learned a lot through my sports. I was excellent in sports. I was a state level athlete, and have also represented the state. I have led Tamil Nadu in the Republic Day, a part of MCC. I just
Wow.
realized that it was not about gender, but it's about uh, being
The attitude.
happy about what you do and the attitude. So that's how I was a rank holder in my class 12. I got into NIT Trichy, which is REC Trichy, because of my marks. Took on computer science engineering. There
Wow.
also I continued with my sports activities. And lo, looking back, started the techno commercial executive in one of the global companies way back in the early 90s. And I had always wanted to pursue my MBA in the US. Um, then I applied. I got a dual scholarship. I did not pay my college fee or my living fee. I was both a research associate and a teaching associate. From there, went on to join the Prudential Securities, which is part of the Wall Street company. Worked there, uh, got married into a very traditional way, into a traditional family. And both of us, me and my husband, decided to come back to India and started again, my second career, second innings in India. Um, in the middle, I did take a few years of, I wouldn't call it career break, but full time because I was raising my children.
Wow.
And I thought I did a bit of my dad's business. I was also freelancing. I was in touch with work, but I knew those days there were nothing called flexi careers. I didn't complain about not having such opportunities, but I did multiple jobs to keep my intelligence going. Uh,
Wonderful.
so and therefore when I came back, this is something you'll find interesting. When I came back to corporate level, corporate job, the recruiter asked me, "Oh, you took 3 years break." I said, "What break?" I was raising my children. "Oh, but then that's a break." So I told him, "What would you have done if you were a male and you have to be the caregiver?" He didn't. He couldn't respond. He didn't know. I said, "Would you have? Would you call that taking a break?" He said, "Well, that's because of compulsion. I would have taken a break." I said, "You still took a break." And I told him, most importantly, what are the job competencies needed for this role? You want someone who is compassionate, who is patient, who is a team worker, and who would be able to walk that extra mile to get the job done. That is what a young mother learns after a break. So I said, if
Wow.
these are the core competencies, I said, compared to any other male here, I have them better. So,
Wonderful.
and I said, this 3 years cannot be shown as a break. It's a work
Absolutely.
experience.
What a point you made, and I think for all of us to know not to take it in that way, but look at it from the point you brought this up. Absolutely brilliant, ma'am. I mean, it's so inspiring to hear you take this journey of life. I mean, you made it look like, wow, it was so easy, or maybe a cakewalk, but I'm certain there must have been tons of challenges all along. So tell us about some of the difficult moments through this journey, and how did you deal with them? Because there's always a time where you're caught in between and you don't know where you would go in life. Those moments where you can uh, feel very weak, not sure, confused, but yet emerge stronger. So maybe some of the instances that can inspire many other women who are stuck probably at this stage.
I think both men and women have very similar issues in life when it comes to workplace. It's just that because there are more boys and there are more boys clubs, right? They have corridor conversations. They have other smoking gazebos to go and vent it out, and also use the fellow boys as sounding boards. Women, to some extent, we don't have, right? Unless otherwise you have your own support system, you do not have anyone to talk to. I think early on, for many of us as women managers and women leaders, that sounding board was always missing, right? You wanted to look at who is your trusted friend at work. Do you have a friend at work? Will the person be able to relate to you? I'm talking about much before the so called diversity and inclusion practices in the country actually got started, right? So there are very many moments of highs and lows. But then that is also a power of women because we know how to resolve them, because we know there is no way out. So if you're resilient, you try to solve on your own. And if you have good parents, if you have brothers and sisters, you talk to them, right? One of the moments I actually spoke to you about is at my interview, right, where I had to respond and not react about my core competencies and get a job with a recruiter. That's one of my low moments, which I converted to a very high moment because I'm able to recall and talk about it openly today. There are certain instances where, because you are the only woman in the room or you are the only female leader in the room, people do wait to see what your response is to a critical question. And my sincere suggestion to all women out there is don't get perturbed just because you're a minority in the room. Consider that situation as a great opportunity to turn around the table and come up with a very, very smart answer. Don't worry about how your answer is going to be, perceived by people around you. But it's important that you leverage that opportunity and respond. Um, Unfortunately, many leaders in the organization think if there is only one woman in the room, they want to make the woman feel inclusive by directing the first question to the person, saying, "Oh, did you heard the presentation? Well, let us just pick up the lady in the room so she doesn't feel excluded. What do you think about it?" By saying so, actually, the male leader is excluding you. It's not an inclusive habit at all, right? Because if he believes he needs to include you, you are part of every other guy in the room.
But then it makes it even more obvious that it is not.
And you feel very uncomfortable. Suddenly, everyone is looking at you. It's like the spotlight on, right? And then, and I think this happens more and more. And the women who want to climb the ladder should be ready for this.
Okay, absolutely. Okay, so these are some of the points that you made. I think for all of us to introspect, to think, and actually implement great points, ma'am. Also, of course, we are seeing the whole purpose, and that's really my question to you when we say women, the biggest challenges they face in boardrooms, especially at the decision making places, at leadership positions. There are, of course, work being done by organizations now to great extent. At your times, as you said, this wasn't even, there wasn't even that much talk about it, but at least now we are talking, we're trying to address it through our HR policies and so on. Tell us, ma'am, the boardroom today versus the boardroom a decade back. Do you see the difference? It's more in on paper than in spirits even today. Do you believe that?
Absolutely. I think it's a lot more in spirit these days than paper. I can sense a big difference because people do believe the nature of soft power in the boardroom. Um, you know, the organizations, Swati, can be a masculine or a feminine form. It's not about male or female, but it is about some countries by nature are considered to be masculine. Some countries are considered to be feminine. If you're taking a consultative decision in the room, then you're a very feminine. If you are assertive in the room, it's a feminine organization. If you're aggressive in the room, then it's considered to be a masculine organization. So the organizations and the boardrooms pretty much would want to move to a particular culture and the ways of working. So much of the boards today I've started looking at how do we embrace the compassion, embrace the soft power, embrace the inclusion in the way that they have to take the decision, right? I think there is a big shift. When I was brought into this to HCL, we had a very interesting proposition that I remember the board asked me, so Srimati, what will you bring to the table? I said, look, we're starting DNI practices today. In 5 years, my focus is it should become the DNA of the system where the board will start taking responsibility of running this. Honestly, across all companies today, the board is responsible. At HCL, where I work, the board is responsible. The board takes responsibility of generating more women and also institutes a committee for managing and grooming more women leaders. Then you've already turned the table, right? No longer should I go and write what is a business case for women leadership. I mean, it was so funny 15 years back, Swati, right? Thankfully, you are not in this situation, okay? 15 years back, they would ask, do you have any business case for women to be included in the organization? I said, why do you need a business case? What do you mean? And you go back and look at some research papers, you'll find millions of research paper on business case for gender diversity, right? I'm sure your generation doesn't even want to talk about it.
Yeah, that it's sounding bizarre though.
It you sounds bizarre. Then you can imagine, So I think we've
That was
come
the
a long.
reality at that point. Yes.
And where we and let's also look at the other way, whether it is spirit or paper. In a way, it's in the hands of women. It takes two hands to clap. Most of us drop our jobs in the middle. We are
True.
not able to sustain. So
True.
unless there is a huge supply of women above the manager's level, you cannot really transform what we need at the leadership.
True, absolutely. So, ma'am, today's women and what they're looking out for, we have also got too many things, too many career options. The way the new generation is coming up, you can easily tell they're very different from, let's say, what we were 10, 15, 20 years ago. So, the mindset shift, the way we approach our careers, the way we look at our work, the entire ecosystem that's changing in many ways. In that transformative journey, what is the message that you would like to give to young women who are passionate, who are committed, who want to make a difference, but of course have, that need that motivation, need that inspiration, and the ability to fight these small battles that are, of course, now seemingly much big, because the way the kids are being brought up today, not as tough as a childhood as we had, for example, or our parents had. So what is the message, the larger message that you would like to give them?
You brought this wonderful concept of passion already, Swati. So I
Yes.
think we are all very passionate about our jobs, about what we want to do, right? Passion also comes with priorities,
Mhm.
right? Priorities also come with pay, right? If either of these actually are not getting balanced, that is where you feel like a doormat, right? Long ago, I asked my dad, when do you think I should leave a job? He said, when you get up in the morning and you have to push yourself to the job, it means you have to give up the job, right? So I think there are three C's which I practice, and I'm very comfortable in saying so because when I look back at the path, I've also had a fast paced career. I have done 360 leadership, and I'm very happy to say I'm the only woman corporate officer, in my organization and among many, many IT firms today. So the first C in my view is cost. I think you should know whether this is the kind of job you want or not. Are you happy about the cause for which you're working? You may say, you want to be into marketing. I want to be a techie. Want is for what? What's the cause? What is triggering you to perform every day, right? That cause is very important. The minute you understand the cause, I think it may sound philosophical, but it's not. You put down in a piece of paper, what is the purpose of my job? What is that I'm doing? Right? That cause is what triggers you, your passion. So put the cause first. The second is career. Many times women do not go to the table and ask for what is next in my career. I'm doing my job well. What is next for me? It's you speak to many HR folks post appraisal, before appraisal. Women don't take the first initiative to go and ask either their female manager or a male manager, what's next for me? What is that I can do now so that you will shift me to the next job? So second is career. The third is cash. We all need to look at what is your pay. Do we negotiate smartly on how much you want to take home? you know I also have seen a whole lot of recruitment, and I ask my recruiters, and they'll say, oh ma'am, women normally don't ask much. They say this is the market rate. They'll be very happy to look at what the market pay is and go with it, while the guys will say, this is a very critical job, this is a critical technology, I am the best in the world, I did this, I did that. Women will say, we did it, my team did it, I was given an opportunity, and so on. You never say, I did it.
Yeah.
Only if you say, I did it, someone is going to look up to you and say, oh, then you deserve it. right? So cause, career, cash. I think you will have to keep that in mind and run well.
Run like a horse, be passionate. I think the 3 points that you made will make all of us think through our journeys and see where we are and how can we better ourselves at it. Ma'am, it was really wonderful speaking with you to get a sense of how your journey was. I think it was, I wish we could speak longer and, keep getting your inputs and understand the new Vistas program, for example. If you can quickly tell us about it, that you inculcated in your organization, and how's it going along, and what do you see it become over a few years?
The New Vistas is all about creating the delivery centers and operations for HCL in tier two, tier three. I would say non-urban cities in India as well as outside India locations. It's about providing jobs and career paths for local, local people, local candidates. So this also includes alternate talent pool, right? Um, we skill, we hire, and we also provide them fantastic tech careers. So in the last 4 or 5 years that we have built New Vistas, we have over 20,000 employees whom we have been able to, provide high tech jobs, and they're all localites. We run a campaign called Stay Rooted. Why migrate from small towns to urban cities? Because we are bringing work to you, global careers to you. Of course, amidst COVID now, everyone working from home, this may appear to be, easy. But then when Nuvista started 5 years ago, we promoted philosophy in a very, very strong manner. We also run a campaign called Come Back Home. You may be somewhere, but come back home, no? Because your global careers are here. The
Wow.
third, it will be the alternate talent pool. Today, everyone talks about alternate, but HCL was the first to do it way back in 2016 itself. We introduced, I believe, a program for second careers women. Many women want to come back, late starters in small
Yes.
towns start late because they didn't have opportunity. Women who got married, relocated there, want to do second careers. So we have a program called I Believe to get women back to
Back on.
work, and a program called Tech B, HCL Tech B, where we skill and make give full-time jobs for class 12 completed students and provide them work integrated higher education. So Swati, this is a very path-breaking program because there are many, many young boys and girls who are aspiring to learn and earn,
Correct.
especially from the smaller towns,
Sure.
right? So
Sure.
alternate talent, alternate locations, growth, and taking work to where the workers are, bringing more global jobs into new locations. These are all part of the New Vistas strategy.